Welcome back to SwitchCorner. It's volume 19 of our Switch Gem series. Here each week I break down 5 games and I just give you a rundown of what I love about them and who out there might enjoy them too. Here I do try to skip the obvious, sticking to the more, let's say, hidden gem side of the eShop, while occasionally slipping in the obvious one here and there too. Hopefully though you'll find something worth adding to your library, or at least to the wish list for that next sale. Now volumes 1 through 18 are of course live right now over on the channel, and as always I'm going to link a handy little playlist in the comments below for you to check out if you do want to stick around after this video. So with that luck, hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here, join our growing family, and let's get started. So this week I'm going to be going with a first person vibe, and that doesn't necessarily mean shooter. In fact, I'd only really consider one a traditional first person shooter, so let's start with that one. This game is Immortal Redneck. While the name screams quality to me because it's almost like a B-movie vibe to it, I can also see how it might put some folks off. Well look, this game is an absolute blast. Now it's not subtle, it's for sure not clever either, and there's a whole lot of like swearing just to kind of reinforce the attitude it wants to capture, even if it doesn't always quite land. But what it does nail is just old school first person shooting. What really helps this one though, honestly for me, it feels like a modernized like N64 era graphics, somewhat reminding me actually of Time Splitters if you slapped it with an 18+ rating. Also, if you're old enough to like remember Time Splitters, if you remember that Egypt based stage, this is pretty much an entire game built around that. Now that all said, where this one separates itself is the fact it is a roguelike. You play a redneck, you die, you come back as a mummy, and now you must work your way to the top of a pyramid while taking down wave upon wave of enemy. In true roguelike fashion though, you die and it's going to be back to the bottom to try again. Room location will change to keep things fresh, and of course like any good game with, you know, roguelike as a descriptor, and in 2020 that's nearly every game at this point, you'll be leveling up and becoming stronger and stronger. It's an extremely satisfying gameplay loop of, you know, your own skills getting better at the game while your character's ability is also leveling up. At the same time then it's like a throwback to the classic shooters of the 90s, and you'll even get some classes to mess around with to really add some variety to the experience. Really enjoyed this one. I was skeptical going in and it proved me wrong in nearly every area. The combat is good, the graphics for the most part solid, the humor lands more often than it doesn't, and then like your old school shooters, it just throws realism out the window and just goes for absolutely like balls to the wall entertainment. Value now, and this one gets rid of the gunplay, switching things up for a more puzzle based experience. If you've ever liked the idea of what would be considered, you know, a walking simulator, but you always hated the idea of the slow pace, well welcome, this may well just be your game. This one, it takes your character, straps them with a high performing like exoskeleton instead of like leg things, and it sets you free to just like sprint and jump your way through an almost like open world. I say almost because I will say it does have a very like linear sense to its progression, but if you're anything like me, you'll get a little distracted, you'll go off path and you'll want to explore. And while it may be fast, like I said, having the option to jump to great heights is just both exhilarating, entertaining, and it opens the game up to almost like some adventure platforming exploration moments. Here though, you're on the hunt for the life seed in the Rocky Mountains, and the game really just throws you in there. Now as you explore, you'll be uncovering why this life seed is important and what its magical powers can basically achieve. If you start to lose health though, so does the world around you and the story, and having this weight of a world dying around me on my shoulders, it completely hooked me. Outside of upgrading your abilities though, there's not a huge amount to it, honestly. Jump in, uncover a mystery, and work on understanding just this world and kind of like what came before you. I love a good story though, and this is a hell of a game for the price point. Combat here, I will say, is rare though, so don't go in expecting like tons of action. It's more just about that sense of adventure, and yeah, I really enjoyed it after picking it up in a sale like 12 months back. There is a few moments though I will add here, the frame rate does drop, and not enough to hurt the experience, but I definitely had a couple of noticeable moments if that's something that will put you off. Alright, so horror fans, Bendy and the Ink Machine is an incredibly unique game that seems to be one of those you either love it or you hate it, and for me, I mean, it's in this list today, so I was for sure in the love camp. Its whole premise just hooked me, and the creepy atmosphere can't really be matched by anything else, down to its like hand-drawn like visuals. Describing itself as a first-person puzzle action horror because they went for all the genre tags, it's just incredibly unique. It's all set within this like seriously creepy animation studio. Taking on the role of Henry, you'll be revisiting your demons by exploring Joey Drew Studios, basically an abandoned now animation studio. Here though, the characters have come to life, and yeah, in screenshots they don't look so bad, but in action there's something seriously unnerving about them. In a sense though, I will say it kind of captures that like Five Nights at Freddy's magic, you know, something that should be friendly, should be happy, is in fact an absolute pain in the ass that will keep you up at night. Advertising itself as a first chapter, I hope a sequel is on the way, because it's an incredibly original world and I'd love to dive more into the lore of it, because there is a lot to like, and I loved the small like story elements that keeps things moving forward. If you're adding this one to the wish list though, just know from my knowledge it's never once been on sale before, so you may be waiting a while. So the penultimate game of the week then, City of Brass. This one, it comes from devs behind the Bioshock series. I've actually heard mixed feelings towards this one as well, similar to Bendy, but for me, I thought it was a great time. Any game that like throws me into a mystical like Arabian Nights, gives me a whip and allows me just to do my best Indiana Jones impression is gonna be like difficult to disappoint, honestly. This one definitely didn't. First, the visuals stunning. This world is not only vivid but built perfectly around our thief's skill set. But I just love the like number of ways you can dispose of your foes. Like sure, you can use that big old sword of yours and just slash at them, but how about using that whip, you know, hit them with the whip, pull them into some sort of trap, or even just pull them towards you so you can get a better like line of sight. It's an incredibly like freeing experience when it gives you so many options. It gives you tools to use, never really forces them on you though, it lets that creativity go a little wild. Again, as a warning though, this is a roguelike. You need to reach the center of this procedurally generated world while collecting loot along the way. That's going to increase the bank account or wallet or whatever they would use in this setting. But with this cash then, you're going to be able to start leveling up and adding skills for that next run that may just get you that tiny bit closer to victory. Of course though, not easy. You're going to die a lot. And there's some seriously impressive enemies in here to stop you in your tracks. The team here, it touts that like everyone in the eShop, they worked on Bioshock tagline. That quality though absolutely comes across. So our final game of the week then, Superhot. For me, this is a game that probably shouldn't have worked. It was originally a VR game in some form, and when I heard it was coming to Switch, I questioned if the premise would really hook me without the level of immersion a VR headset obviously provides. Also, this game's definitely got a slower pace for a game where the only goal is to literally kill everyone. I was wrong to doubt it though. First, let's address the visuals that channel those early like 3D Sega attempts. And simplistic, yes, but super stylish for sure, and they absolutely just pop off the screen, made up of like bold white, red, and then some shadow work. The concept is time only progresses when you move. If you stand still, the enemies will freeze, bullets will stop, and you can then strategize that next move, or at least things are going to go like super slow. It's difficult to notice. This is now your chance though in these moments. How will you get your shot squarely between the eyes of your foes, if these foes had eyes, of course. It's an incredibly addictive gameplay style though. It comes with a fair few modes to keep you busy, and yes, it's first person, and yes, you can shoot and punch away at your foes, but I'd consider this one more a puzzle experience than anything else. You're going to enter a room and now you need to clear just a ton of enemies. This is almost like a slow paced take on the formula the recently released Ghost Runner has, you know, enter a room and just clear it out. Stopping and standing still though in this sort of game, surprisingly challenging after years of practice at running and gunning as fast as possible. It's going to take you some time for sure to get used to that, and you're going to have just a little bit of patience. And that is it, another week down. Volume 20 next week will mark 100 games, and this series has just like flown by at this point. If you do want to catch up on volumes 1 through 18, as I say, check the comment down below for a link to that playlist. With that then, a shout out to the patrons of the channel who are just going above and beyond to support SwitchCorner. Helps more than you know, so thank you all so much. If you do want to check that out for yourself, I've linked it in the video description down below. Then hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.